All batteries lose capacity over time, regardless of the battery technology and regardless what you're using the battery for. And with an EV, of course, reduced battery capacity means reduced range. But the good news is that with EVs, that reduction in capacity and range tends to be very slow, very gradual over the years. And there's no evidence that EVs last any less well overall than conventional vehicles. The data we've seen shows that on average EVs lose about 10% of their original capacity, therefore 10% of their range, after 5 years. Although in actual fact that reduction in range is more to do with the number of battery cycles, the number of times you've charged it up. Therefore it will be more correlated with mileage than years. And the sort of battery failures that many of us have known with phones or other devices, where perhaps the battery performance plummets after 3 or 4 years, that's almost unheard of with EVs. Today's EVs all come with strong battery warranties, maintaining at least 70% of the original capacity after 8 years or 100,000 miles is common. And of course the way to see that is not to expect a 30% loss, because no doubt the manufacturers have built in a wide margin of error. And even if older EVs have lost a significant amount of their original capacity, they should still drive and feel completely fine, just not go quite as far as they did originally. We're often asked if you can put a new battery into an old EV. In practice that doesn't happen. Perhaps the manufacturers might occasionally replace a battery under warranty, but for a private individual it's too expensive and complicated to do that. So what happens is that as an EV ages over the years, as and when it no longer suits the original owner, it simply gets sold onto the second-hand market and bought by someone for whom the slightly reduced range does work. And we have a good understanding of why EV batteries last much better than those on phones and other devices. EVs have much more effective cooling systems, usually water-cooled on modern EVs, because when lithium-ion batteries overheat, that's the most common cause of damage to the batteries. EVs also have battery management systems that monitor and balance the charge between individual cells, which helps prolong the battery life. And those same battery management systems govern the rate of charge when you're rapid charging. So when you get to about 85% charged, that rate of charge slows down, it's called taper charging, and that helps to protect the battery from damage. The EV itself takes care of everything we've talked about so far, and your battery warranty will remain valid without you doing anything else. But there are things you can do yourself if you want to try and reduce that gradual reduction in charge over the years. Most lithium-ion batteries don't really like being charged to 100%, so most EVs come with a setting that allows you to only charge up to 80%. And if that provides sufficient mileage for you, it's a good idea to use that setting as your default and only charge up to 100% when you're going to need the extra range. And if you're not going to be using your EV for a while, say if you're going on holiday for a couple of weeks, then that would be a particular time when it would be a good idea to avoid leaving the battery fully charged, because that stress on the battery is more to do with the amount of time that the battery is fully charged. However, it's slightly more complicated than that, because there's a new type of lithium-ion battery called LFP, lithium iron phosphate, and the LFP batteries don't object to being fully charged. So if you know that your EV has an LFP battery, then it's no problem at all to charge it to 100%. Rapid charging also puts more strain on a battery than slower charging. So if you rapid charge for most of your charging or all of the time, that will age the battery a little bit more quickly than if you slow charge or trickle charge. But most people only use the rapid chargers when they need to, so I certainly wouldn't hesitate to use a rapid charger when you're on a long journey and it's convenient. But if you can avoid using rapids as your day-to-day regular charging, that will help prolong the life of the battery. And lithium-ion batteries don't like the extreme cold, so this point is perhaps not so relevant to most people in the UK, but below something like -15, the batteries could be damaged. So if ever you're parking your EV and you think it might get down to -15 or colder at night, then either try to bring the EV in or at least make sure it's plugged in, because then heating circuits will kick in to keep the battery sufficiently warm.